What was it like to be a woman trial lawyer, a criminal trial lawyer, trying very serious cases or handling very serious cases?
I worked 24/7. I was always on trial. You know, because you're the local whipping boy as the public defender when they've got a free courtroom and a judge with nothing to do. It's all right, you're up, and that was constant. It wasn't about knowing the law. It really was about wanting to be able to control my environment. So I was 7 months pregnant, and Jerry Barnett became a judge. And so the Chief of Legal Services position opened, and I applied for it. From 1983 to 1989, I was Chief of Legal Services. And it was like running a small law firm in some regard. I always felt that, I know it sounds pat, but you had to be twice as good and 3 times as prepared. So I remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg being interviewed and talking about how no matter what time of day or night her kids found her at the kitchen table. And that was pretty much my life. That's where I did my preparation. Obviously, I worked full time and had to obviously spend time and wanted to spend time with my family. But as we prepared for oral argument, I did whatever it took. And if that meant weekends and nights, it meant weekends and nights. And the way I did it is making sure that I knew more than anybody else.
Let's go to your next stage of your career. In 1989, at again an early age, you became a Connecticut Superior Court judge.
So I had just turned 36, and I think I was the second youngest. And I will tell you, it's interesting. So I got a call in the fall from someone on the Judicial Selection Commission to apply. And the commission was, I think, it was getting a bad reputation for not passing women. Women were not getting through. And someone who was a very prominent member of the legal community who was on the committee called me up and said, would you consider applying to be a judge? And it caught me off guard, but I said, let me think about it. And I came home that night and I talked to my husband as always, and I said, clearly I'm being used. They're doing it to say, see, we're not sexist, we're not biased, look, we just passed her. And I said, so I'm being used. I said, but I've been used for worse. So I'm going to do it, I'll get it behind me, and then we'll see where it goes. I was made a Superior Court judge. So when I got sent to Stanford, Judge Nigro was presiding, and he was going to do the Richard Crafts case. So they needed somebody else to step up and do the criminal trials. And I started doing Part A trials very quickly. And I mean, I came on in April, went to judge school, baby judge school for 3 weeks. And my mom passed away in June, and I think in October I was trying the Bloomingdale's homicide case, which was a huge case in Stanford at the time, not because it was difficult, but because it really changed the city and the composition of the city and people's attitude towards it. And after that, I thought, and I did a few more, but I thought I really need to switch over to civil. Actually, before I switched over to civil, I asked to do juvenile. And juvenile sat 1 day a week. And I thought, again, let me try something different. I don't know juvenile, let me learn about juvenile. And so I did that. And then I asked to sit civil. And I was able to switch over. And I had some pretty significant cases in civil. I was in Stanford.
But you had never done civil as a lawyer.
No.
So what was it like to learn?
Scary.
Okay. Let's go back to the call from Weicker.
Yeah. I was on the bench under 4 years. 3.5 years, and I got a phone call from then Governor Weicker's chief of staff. Have you thought about applying to the appellate court? And I thought, I haven't even been here long enough to have a cup of coffee. But again, okay, when opportunity knocks, there weren't a lot of women around on the appellate or Supreme Court, certainly back then. It was just Judge Dupont on the appellate court, Justice Peters on the Supreme Court, and so when I got that phone call, I said, okay. So I applied, and frankly, the application was, I thought, in hindsight, that it was appellate and Supreme, but they did it in stages, so I made it through for the appellate court, and that was fine, and I got interviewed by the governor, and that was fine, and then I went back to work. A couple of months later, I got a phone call, you didn't apply to the Supreme Court. I said, well, apparently not, but they said, well, we want you to do that too. We want that to be an option. I said, okay. So I went back and applied for the Supreme Court and made it through.
In terms of your experience before the Supreme Court, did anybody on that court have more experience
No.
appearing before the court or arguing before the court than you did?
No one did. I mean, I had argued, and I think even to this day, no lawyer, no sitting justice had more appellate experience than I did.
So you served almost 2 decades.
18 plus years, that's right.
On the Connecticut Supreme Court. Tell us about cases that you were involved in or wrote opinions on.
I probably wrote somewhere between 400 and 450 cases, and some of them
Well, you wrote the opinion.
personally. That's right. I sat on over 2,000. So they ran the gamut. Some of them obviously were constitutional issues. I was all over the lot because you get whatever you're assigned. I thought one of my responsibilities was to try and bring people together. Not always successful, because I thought that the bench and bar really deserved to hear, and I thought we needed to speak in one voice.
What do you hope your legacy is?
I'd like my legacy to be that that I did my job. Really, that I did my job. That I helped form a foundation of law that other people can look to, that they can rely on, and I think that that's a big big important function of a Supreme Court.
After 18 years in the Supreme Court, you give up what people would say is the pinnacle of being on the Connecticut Supreme Court, having a safe seat in the Connecticut Supreme Court, to be Commissioner of the Department of Children and Families. Some people would say you lost your mind.
Many.
Can you tell us why you decided to make that career move?
I wanted a challenge. I really did. I wanted a challenge. I mean, in honesty, I was 57, and I said, okay, I can do this for another 13 years until I'm constitutionally senile, and it would be great, and I would see lots of new issues and cases, etc. Or I could do something entirely different and feel that I can make a difference. And so I saw an opportunity to totally revamp the way we do business, to allow DCF social workers to really practice social work the way they were trained and not worry about ramifications every time they turned around. I thought, I have an opportunity here. And I have an opportunity to at least do this for 4 years. And then when the governor asked me to re-serve, to re-up, I said gladly, because I think part of the problem also nationally is people are never allowed to serve in their place long enough to really have those changes grow roots.
How long have you been a commissioner now?
6 years.
Is that some kind of record?
It's close, yeah, as far as I know.
You've had quite a career. People would like to know what impact that has had on your life.
You know, I used to raise my kids with lots of these silly slogans, and one of them was, you sleep when you're dead. So essentially, and life is not a dress rehearsal. And so for me that meant you embrace it. You do everything you can within whatever means you have to be the best at whatever you do.